When Goku and Vegeta first unlocked Super Saiyan Blue during the Resurrection F era, it wasn't just a transformation milestone. It was the culmination of an entire new philosophy of martial arts and Dragon Ball. Up until that point, every major leap in Saiyan evolution relied on external expression of power. Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, all of them were transformations defined by explosive outward energy, massive auras, and uncontrollable ki bleeding into the environment. A Saiyan got stronger by screaming louder, radiating harder, and forcing energy out in all directions. But Whis' method was the precise inverse of everything Goku and Vegeta had ever been taught. Their training focused on absolute internalization. No leaks, no wasted motion, no ki spilling out of the body. Whis repeatedly scolded them for letting their ki drift externally like amateurs. To being on the level of Whis, the standard Saiyan way of fighting, pumping out huge waves of energy to raise out one's combat power, was childish, messy, and barbarishly inefficient. The road to Super Saiyan Blue required something far harder than powering up. It required discipline, precision, and complete subjugation of the user's own energy. Dragon Ball Super visually and narratively emphasizes this concept. Goku meditating on the flow of divine energy within himself, Vegeta learning to strike without letting his aura bleed outward, and both eventually discovering the quiet power of God. Their divine energy didn't roar or flare, it simmered, redefined, and condensed into perfect internal containment. And this is where the breakthrough occurred. Super Saiyan Blue is the form born from mastering the containment and then applying Super Saiyan on top of it. It isn't brute force, it's transcendent control. The divine ki inside their bodies becomes locked in place, compressed, and concentrated to the highest possible density. And this explains why. God ki cannot be sensed by mortals because it never leaves the body. Blue users can appear calm even while fighting at astronomical levels, and their stamina drops only when they're inefficient, not when they're weak. The aura of Super Saiyan Blue is more symbolic than literal. What the viewers see is not leaking ki, but the result of perfectly regulated divine power being pushed to its limit. In traditional Dragon Ball, one's aura reflects their power. In divine forms, the absence of a chaotic aura becomes the ultimate expression of power. This is why Blue's entire identity revolves around perfect ki management. Unlike regular transformations where power is massively amplified by external output, Blue's strength comes from internal restraint containing so much God ki that the user's body becomes a pressure chamber of divine force. This is also why the form strains the body when used improperly. Any break in concentration and any lapse in internal regulation and the form begins leaking energy. This is the root of the manga's early Blue drained stamina like crazy issue. It wasn't the form's fault, it was the user's inability to maintain perfect control. Once Goku and Vegeta later mastered this control, Blue no longer cripples them. Even in the anime where Blue is portrayed as more stable, the philosophy remains consistent. Whis explicitly states that the key to divine power is using ki without letting it leak. Goku even comments that he can feel Super Saiyan God's energy flowing inside him, not radiating outward, long before he ever assesses Blue. Super Saiyan Blue isn't just a form, it's a statement. A declaration that divine power is not about unleashing everything you have, but about mastering everything you are. It's why Blue represents maturity, spiritual refinement, a form of both godly strength and godly self-control. It's the opposite of Super Saiyan 3's reckless access. It's a transformation that wards precision over aggression, discipline over emotion, and mastery over impulse. And fittingly, this mirrored Goku and Vegeta's character arcs. Both started as warriors defined by raw talent and overwhelming force, but both became gods when they learned to quiet their energy, quiet their minds, and finally understand the true power that is not in shouting but in the stillness. Super Saiyan Blue is the embodiment of that revelation. Super Saiyan fused with divine purity contained within a body and spirit refined to perfection. Having said that, it is portrayed much differently in the manga than in the anime, and it's a bit more layered of a form than people give it credit for. When discussing perfected Super Saiyan Blue, it's easy to overlook just how radical the form truly is. Visually, it barely differs from the standard Super Saiyan Blue we saw in Resurrection F. The hair color remains the same, and the aura shifts only slightly, and the overall silhouette is nearly identical. The biggest cosmetic distinction is the absence of the roaring flame like the divine aura that surrounds regular Blue. On the surface, it looks like a calmer, quieter version of the same form, but this is a perfect example of Dragon Ball hiding enormous conceptual weight behind seemingly subtle visual cues. The difference between Super Saiyan Blue and its perfected counterpart is not superficial, it's philosophical. Perfected Super Saiyan Blue is defined entirely by usability and mastery. Regular Blue is notoriously inefficient. From the moment it debuted, it carried a built-in flaw. The form consumes great deals. The form consumes stamina, not to the catastrophic degree of Super Saiyan 3, but enough that Goku and Vegeta could never fight in it for long stretches without rapidly diminishing returns. Blue was powerful, controlled, and divine, but it was also leaking God ki with every moment. This made it a form best used in bursts, not as a prolonged fighting state. Flaw wasn't discovered by accident either. Whis himself highlighted it repeatedly. Goku and Vegeta still allowed their ki to spill outward even in their divine forms. Their bodies weren't airtight containers for God ki, they were cracked vessels. Whis' training taught them the basics of controlling their power internally, which is what first allowed them to access the Super Saiyan Blue state. But the method they learned inside Whis' staff was just the beginning. It was a prototype, a framework. Goku, however, took that lesson and enhanced it much further than expected. Where Whis trained them to stop leaking ki temporarily, Goku found a way to make the containment continuous. He discovered that by maintaining an unbroken stream of intense mental concentration, channeling every drop of God Ki inward rather than outward, he could hold the full power of Blue without suffering the massive stamina drain. Instead of letting the form overflow uncontrollably, Goku kept the power pressurized inside his body, achieving a level of Ki efficiency far beyond the original technique. This new stable method produced a form that looked calmer because it was calmer. The chaotic aura vanished and the energy stabilized, and Super Saiyan Blue entered a new evolutionary stage. Perfected Super Saiyan Blue. Vegeta later confirms the fragility of this transformation. He explicitly states that if the user's concentration slips for even an instant, the God Ki will erupt outward violently, injuring the fighter and destabilizing the form. This is why regular Blue forces the user to fight at full strength for only a short window. Its leaking energy becomes self-destructive. Perfected Blue eliminates that flaw entirely, freeing the Saiyan to operate at 100% continuously, and we see the result immediately. Once Goku enters Perfected Blue during the Goku Black arc, he fights toe-to-toe with Fusion Zamasu, a being so overwhelming that Goku and Vegeta later deem it necessary to fusion to Vegeta. The form's newfound stability allows Goku to push his divine energy into techniques he could normally not sustain, culminating in his use of Hakai, a God of Destruction move far beyond anything Standard Blue should realistically handle. The fact that Perfected Blue can channel Destroyer energy at all speaks volumes about his potential. Had Goku not been momentarily distracted when Zamasu used Mai as a human shield, the Hakai would have erased him on the spot. Even then, the form wasn't truly mastered. Goku admits he hadn't had time to practice it yet, just he had to use Blue Kaioken long before his body was ready to sustain it. The level of mental focus required to keep Perfect Blue stable wasn't something Goku naturally excelled at during this point in the story. Without Ultra Instinct or refined self-control, the strain gradually tore his body apart, forcing him to gamble everything on one final attack. The manga revisits the form later during a brief time skip after the Goku Black arc. Vegeta reveals that he has also learned to access the Perfected Blue form. His sparring match with Beerus serves as a clear demonstration of just how enormous an upgrade the form is. Vegeta, who had previously been swatted aside effortlessly, now performs well enough to impress Beerus, a god of destruction who rarely shows admiration. Vegeta even lands a hit, and Beerus directly acknowledges that Vegeta's newfound power puts him in running to become a god of destruction in another universe. The implications are staggering. Perfected Super Saiyan Blue is not a minor refinement, it is a complete resolution of the form's greatest flaw. Where no official multiplier exists, the increase is so dramatic that Goku jumped from being outmatched by Fusion Zamasu to contending with him evenly. That level of growth cannot be understated. Perfected Super Saiyan Blue is the moment where Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue finally work the way they were always intended. It is Blue pushed to a logical extreme, a divine transformation elevated by flaws and efficiency, absolute concentration, and total internal ki control. In essence, it is Blue without compromise, without leakage, and Blue at its purest and its strongest. Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, often shortened to Super Saiyan Blue Evolved, is presented in Dragon Ball Super as the natural but personally tailored advancement of Super Saiyan Blue, and as the name implies, it functions as a genuine evolution of the form rather than a simple power-up variant. While maintaining the basic silhouette of Super Saiyan Blue, Vegeta's evolved state transforms the aura, color, and physique into something noticeably more intense. His eyes sharpen to a deeper royal blue, the aura becomes chaotic and electric, and the body swells with added muscle mass reminiscent of the old Super Saiyan Grade 2 form. Visually, it's clear that this is not Blue but stronger, it's Blue being pushed through a personal breakthrough unique to Vegeta. Vegeta attains this form during the Tournament of Power after remembering his old promise to Kappa, the promise to restore Universe 6 with the Super Dragon Ball should they fail. This emotional anchor mirrors Goku's breaking his shell to reach Ultra Instinct Sign. Vegeta's breakthrough is driven not by serenity but by defiance. Overwhelmed by the stakes of losing his universe and his family, Vegeta forcibly pushes past the limits of Super Saiyan Blue and taps into power born from pure determination. Unlike Goku's Ultra Instinct path, calm, instinctive, and technique-based, Vegeta's route is emotional, rebellious, and fueled entirely by willpower. In terms of combat output, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution immediately proves itself to be one of Vegeta's strongest showings. During the joint assault on Jiren, Vegeta's new form allows him to fight alongside Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken x 20 Goku, with Jiren finally being forced to reveal more and more of his hidden strength just to push them back. Toppo stepping in to separate them only underscores how dangerous Vegeta had become in his evolved state. When Vegeta faces God of Destruction Toppo alone, the battle initially seemed hopeless. Toppo's Akaishin energy releases and attacks thrown at him, Final Flash and Kamehameha, all dissolve against the aura of destruction coating his body. However, Vegeta's defining trait, his refusal to abandon his pride, takes center stage once again. Remembering his promise to Kappa, his universe, Bulma, and his children, Vegeta tapped into a deeper source of rage-fueled power. His ki flares beyond previous limits, which allow him to withstand Toppo's destructive blasts but overpower them entirely. One of the most shocking moments in the fight occurs when Toppo fires a point-blank Akai at Vegeta and Vegeta simply punches through it. This defiance of godly destruction, something that should erase everything he touches, is a testament to Vegeta's mastery over his own ki and emotional fuel that drives his evolved form. Eventually, Vegeta resorts to a desperate finishing technique, a resurrection of the same self-sacrificial explosion he used against Majin Buu. But this time, things play out differently. Instead of being reduced to ash, Vegeta survives. His superior understanding of ki control and the raw increase in power allow him to use a refined, safer variation of his suicidal explosion. The attack overwhelms Toppo, ejecting him from the arena and proving once again that Super Saiyan Blue evolution is not a temporary boost, it's a legitimate transformation layered on top of Super Saiyan Blue's structure. What makes the form even more interesting is its lack of apparent drawbacks. Traditional bulky transformations, such as Trunks' Grade 3 form, trade power for speed and stamina. Evolution seems to break that rule entirely. Despite increasing muscle mass, Vegeta maintains speed, precision, and endurance with no noticeable ki drain. In fact, he continues fighting immediately afterward, powering right back into Super Saiyan Blue evolution to challenge Jiren. This should have been impossible given the energy he expended, but the form behaves as if it's a perfected, limit-breaking state rather than a stamina-draining multiplier. The manga's portrayal follows a different route but retains their thematic core. There, Vegeta unlocks the form out of sheer frustration and pride after witnessing Goku's Ultra Instinct awakening. Fueled by a refusal to adopt Goku's path and a desire to surpass his limits in his own way, he crushes through his shell, lighting up the arena and even managing to blitz Jiren momentarily. Though Jiren soon retaliates with greater force, he acknowledges Vegeta's raw power. Another narrative signal that this transformation places the Prince of Saiyans in a league far beyond where Super Saiyan Blue could take him. Finally, Dragon Ball Super's anime directors have confirmed that Blue evolution is comparable to Goku's Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20. This effectively means that Super Saiyan Blue evolution operates at a 20 times multiplier stacked directly on top of the regular Super Saiyan Blue, placing it among the high tiers of non-God, non-UI transformations in the series. Super Saiyan Blue evolution is therefore a more simple upgrade. It represents Vegeta's identity distilled into a transformation: pride, rebellion, protectiveness, and the unyielding refusal to follow anyone else's path. In both the anime and manga, the form stands as Vegeta's personal answer to Ultra Instinct, embodying a Saiyan prince who evolves not by serenity or divine grace, but by sheer force of will. Having said that, that pretty much covers all the variations of Super Saiyan Blue up till this point. To wrap up this segment, it's important to address a handful of persistent misconceptions about the Super Saiyan Blue line of transformations. Misconceptions that continue to circulate in debates despite being disproven by the series. So, one of the most widespread claims is the idea that the red Super Saiyan God form is somehow faster or more combat optimized than Super Saiyan Blue. This idea directly contradicts both the narrator statements and the internal logic of the series itself. When Super Saiyan Blue first debuts during the Resurrection F saga, it is explicitly described as more powerful than Super Saiyan God. Goku immediately relies on it as his primary weapon against Golden Frieza. Yet despite this overt narrative hierarchy, detractors continue repeating the notion that God surpasses Blue in speed. But fans repeatedly misquote this comment as God is faster than Blue, which was never what we stated. His comparison is between God and the Golden Super Saiyan forms and not Super Saiyan Blue itself. His point is that God is more efficient and faster than the basic yellow Super Saiyan transformations, not that it eclipses Blue. Unfortunately, people misremember the scene, remove the context, and unintentionally create an argument that Whis never made. The manga adds even more confusion as well, especially during the Goku Black arc. Readers often notice that Vegeta at first seems to perform better in red than in Super Saiyan Blue. Some interpret this as proof that God is not only faster but actually superior. This interpretation, however, falls apart the moment context is applied. Manga Super Saiyan Blue, unlike its anime counterpart at this point in the series, is an extremely unstable form. It siphons ki, drains stamina rapidly, and cannot be sustained for long. Red God, by contrast, is exceptionally stable and efficient, making it the smarter choice for prolonged engagements. Vegeta wasn't using God because it was faster, he was using God because Blue at that point in the story was barely usable. And most importantly, the Vegeta who fights Goku Black in this rematch is not the same Vegeta from their first battle. He undergoes extensive training that boosts his base level of both his God and his Blue form. When Vegeta and Goku finally showcase a stabilized, fully controlled Blue later in the arc, it's very clear that Vegeta vs Goku Black and Goku vs Fusion Zamasu are very different. Controlled Blue utterly dwarfs God in every metric: speed, power, reaction time, and combat efficiency. God cannot keep up with the output of properly stabilized Blue, and the scenes make that crystal clear. The anime is even more straightforward on this issue as well. From its earliest appearances, Super Saiyan Blue is portrayed as a calm, refined transformation that doesn't suffer from the manga's ki leak problem. Its stamina drain is real but not crippling, and certainly not enough to place God above it in speed or performance. Episode comparisons make this even more obvious. Super Saiyan God struggles against base Kefla, while Super Saiyan Blue holds its own against Super Saiyan Kefla, a monumental difference. If God truly exceeded Blue in any combat-relevant category, this power gap would be an impossible one to justify. Instead, what the anime reinforces is the intended design. Blue is simply the divine key of Super Saiyan God multiplied by Super Saiyan transformation, efficiently God stacked on a massive multiplier bolted on top. So when all of the evidence from both the manga and the anime is viewed together, the conclusion is ambiguous. Super Saiyan Blue does not lose to red in speed, efficiency, or combat value. Its flaws in the manga are structural issues tied to unstable ki control, not defects in speed or power. And once those structural issues are resolved, Blue performs exactly as the narrative describes it, the superior evolution of Super Saiyan God in every meaningful way. The contrast between Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue becomes even more pronounced once you examine how each form functions differently across the anime and manga. In the manga, every transformation into Super Saiyan Blue comes with dramatic reduction in the total user's usable power, because Blue takes energy and ki at an uncontrollable rate. Repeatedly activating the form divides the Saiyan's peak power into fractions. Toyotaro himself confirmed this in an interview, stating that each activation of Blue lowered the Saiyan's power until, by the time Vegeta fought hit, he was operating at roughly 1/10 of what Super Saiyan Blue should be capable of. This explains one of the most misunderstood moments of the early manga. Vegeta transforming into Blue to one-shot Kaba, transforming again to fight Hit, and suddenly performing drastically worse. From the outside, this looks like inconsistency, but narratively it is entirely consistent. Vegeta wasn't weaker because Hit was fundamentally overpowering Super Saiyan Blue, he was weaker because he had spent his own power carelessly, by transforming multiple times into a ki-leaking form. Vegeta fractured and drained his maximum output, and as a result, his Super Saiyan Blue during the Hit fight was a degraded, depleted version of its intended power. This is why Super Saiyan God Goku, who fought Hit afterward, appeared stronger despite being in a supposedly weaker form. Goku wasn't surpassing Blue, he was simply not suffering the same ki drain that Vegeta inflicted on himself. God Goku was stable, efficient, and fully composed, and Blue Vegeta was not. The anime, however, tells a decisively different story. In the anime, Blue is not unstable, nor does it suffer from power division. Its stamina drain is real, but it's nowhere near the catastrophic penalty seen in the manga. Instead, when Vegeta struggles against Hit in the anime, it's for reasons of technique and not raw power. Vegeta simply does not understand the mechanics of time skip. He is fighting blind against an ability he cannot perceive or anticipate. Meanwhile, once Goku studies Hit's movements and understands the fundamentals of time skip's activation window, he immediately performs better, even before increasing his power through Kaioken. In this version, Blue is not flawed and the fighters are learning in real time. This fundamental divergence, manga instability versus anime refinement, reshapes how the forms must be evaluated. In the anime, Blue is already functioning as intended, a calm, compressed, divine Super Saiyan state that surpasses God in every category. In the manga, Blue begins as an ambiguous but flawed prototype. It's not until later arcs, when Goku and Vegeta unlock perfected Blue, that the transformation finally operates the way it was always intended to.